So this is a paladin build that doesn't revolve around holy damage, so it's going to be viable through the entire game. You're going to do an immense amount of damage with this build, and I was super surprised by it, so I'm hoping you guys are going to enjoy it. So with that being said, let me show you exactly what we're working with. So just a disclaimer here before the video starts, everything that you're seeing here is recorded on New Game +6, and I am currently level 170. However, there is nothing in this build that makes it a New Game Plus build, so a level 150 will be very viable for this. But this is a absolutely phenomenal build, and we are going to focus on flame and flame incantations, as well as pumping out an absolutely absurd amount of fire damage, especially when it comes to massive enemies. We are going to be using the cranial vessel candle stand, and I have been super surprised by this weapon because first off, I didn't even realize it existed, much less that I had it sitting in my inventory. So I wanted to make a build with this, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. This is going to focus on using the Surge of Faith, Ash of War on the cranial vessel candle stand in order to make a huge explosion of flame and fire damage, causing a devastating effect to your enemy and the surrounding area. We're going to boost that damage as much as possible. We have a great selection of talismans here for you as well in order to make sure you're doing as much damage with the incantations and the Ash of War as humanly possible. We are going to be having that Great Hammer moveset with this weapon, and it is one of the better movesets in the game in my opinion. The drip is on point, the damage is phenomenal, so let's go ahead and jump right into the talismans so you guys can see how this build is going to synergize. So for the talismans of this build, we have the Shard of Alexander, the Fire Scorpion Charm, the Old Lord's Talisman, as well as the Godfrey Icon. Now I'm going to explain what each one of these does and why I've chosen these talismans for the build. The Shard of Alexander is going to give our Surge of Faith a 15% damage increase whenever we use it, so having more damage in a build is always ideal, and the same goes for our number 2 talisman, the Fire Scorpion Charm, because that's going to boost our damage with fire damage by 12%, but it is going to make us take 10% more damage. However, this is not a problem at all because we typically kill everybody before we can even take damage, so it isn't an issue. Moving on to our third talisman, we are using the Old Lord's Talisman. As stated before, we are using some buffs for this build, Flame Grant Me Strength and Golden Vow, just to name 2 of them, but with Flame Grant Me Strength only lasting 30 seconds, the Old Lord's Talisman is going to make all buffs last for 33% longer. But that being said, we typically kill everybody in a boss fight before we even get to that 30-second mark. This is just a nice cushion when you're out in the open world. And finally, for our fourth talisman, we are using the Godfrey Icon. This is going to enhance charge skills and spells, and a lot of our incantations are going to be charged, which is why I have this in slot number 4. Having that extra damage is always going to be nice, and all of these talismans synergize to give us a really solid amount of extra damage for this build. The Shard of Alexander can be located in Alexander's questline at the end of the game after you kill him in Fair Missoula. I will leave a questline video down in the description below so you guys can check that out. And the Fire Scorpion Charm is going to be located in Fort Lead right here on the map on top of one of the ramparts. The Old Lord's Talisman is going to be located at the very end of the game in Fair Missoula right here on the map. And if you want the Godfrey Icon, then you need to travel up to Altus Plateau and hit the first Everjail that you see, the Golden Lineage Everjail. Now, as far as our actual weapons and seal, obviously we're using the Cranial Vessel Candle Stand. This can be found all the way up in the mountaintops of the Giants, almost right when you get into them, but it's going to be located in the Giant Conquering Hero's grave at the very, very end on top of a corpse. But this weapon is absolutely phenomenal. It is going to be a great hammer. We are using Surge of Faith, its Ash of War. Its physical damage is going to be 240 plus 221, and its fire damage is going to be 240 plus 202. All of this is going to be buffed with Flame Grant Me Strength and Golden Vow, allowing our damage to go even higher, and the strength and faith scaling of this weapon are absolutely incredible. With a strength scaling of B and a faith scaling of B and a decently low requirement to use at 26 strength and 22 faith, this weapon is definitely going to be one of the better weapons in my opinion when it comes to fire damage in Elden Ring. Now, as far as our seal goes, we are going to be using the Giant Seal because it's going to give us a 20% increase to our Giant's Flame incantations, and we are using quite a few of those. It also has a faith scaling of S and some very decent incantation scaling at 273, so overall we're going to get some really solid damage to our incantations from using this particular seal. Now, this seal is also going to be found in the Giant Conquering Hero's grave right here on the map, just like the candle stand was, so you can get a 2-for-1 deal when you go into that dungeon. Guys, thank you so much for watching this far into the video. If you are liking the content, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you guys can know when I'm making more videos. We are ramping up for some Elden Ring DLC content coming June 21st, which I am super excited about. Once again, again, thank you a ton. Let's go ahead and jump into the rest of the video. Now, as far as your Flask of Wonders physics is going to go, with this build, you want to use the Flame Shrouding Cracked tier, as it's going to give us a 20% increase to our fire damage. This is also going to stack with Flame Grant Me Strength and also the Fire Scorpion Charm, giving us somewhere above 54% increased fire damage with this build, which is incredible. And the second tier you want to use is going to be the Strength Not Crystal tier. This tier is going to boost our strength by 10 when we use it, so it's going to give us a total of 60 strength for the build, and we'll also have 60 faith for the build, giving us a really solid damage point to jump off from. The Strength Not Crystal tier is going to be located right here in Limgrave within a small altar on a cliffside, and if you're trying to get the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, this will be located in Caelid after killing the Putrid Avatar east of the Smoldering Church right here. Now, before we jump into the stats, I do want to go over the incantations we are using. We are using 2 buff incantations as well as 4 damage incantations, which I feel go very well with this build, and they're going to cause you to do a lot of damage. Those damage incantations are going to be Catch Flame, Flame Fall Upon Them, Burn O Flame, as well as Giant Flame Take Thee. For our buff spells, we have Flame Grant Me Strength and Golden Vow. Both those spells together are going to combine, allowing you to get a 15% damage negation buff, as well as a 35% increased physical damage buff, with 20% increase to your fire damage. Flame Grant Me Strength is going to be located at Fort Gale, right between 2 fire chariots behind the fort. If you want to snag Golden Vow, it's going to be up here in Mount Gelmir, right at the Corpse Stench Shack. Catch Flame can either be a starting class incantation for the Prophet, or you can buy it from Corrin at Round Table Hold. And if you snag the Giant's Prayer Book located in the mountaintops of the Giants right here, you're going to be able to use Flame Fall Upon Them, Burn O Flame, as well as Giant's Flame Take Thee. And lastly, we have the stats for the build. So we are going to be using a level 170 build, as I said. We're going to have 50 Vigor, 25 Mind, 30 Endurance, Strength is going to be at 50, Dexterity at 18, Intelligence at 9, Faith at 60, and Arcane at 7. All of these stats together are going to give you a really solid damage point for your build, and I've really enjoyed playing through the Lands Between so far. And guys, there we have it. That is going to be it for the Inferno Paladin build. I am super pumped about this one. I definitely enjoyed playing through the Lands Between with it, and I definitely hope you guys will as well. I'm going to leave a ton of videos here for you on the screen to check out, but if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe on your way out. Hit that bell notification for good measure, and until next time, guys, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.